Hi everybody, it's Rose Rosetree from roserosetree.com, and I'm here to do a Skilled Empath Merge of Michael Phelps during the Olympics 2016. I recently learned that he has won more gold medals now than any athlete in modern history, and also any athlete in any recorded history of Olympic competitions. Isn't that something? This is just a bronze medal, though. It's the third and final aura reading of this little series that I'm doing. And there's an introduction for it that I've made for you so you can know some of the basics about what a Skilled Empath Merge is. And it's called Skilled Empath Merges on World-Class Athletes. Well, let me tell you about the contest entry that won this prize of having me do the Skilled Empath Merge on Michael Phelps at this time. So this was from Yevgenia, and she wrote in her entry, "I'm interested in Michael Phelps. I read that he went through a lot of struggle in his life until he recently became religious and found Jesus. Did it really help him to become strong again and start training for the Olympics and actually win?" Such an interesting question. You may know about this field where I work, which is called, for long, Rosetree Energy Spirituality, and for short, it's called RES, that there are different skills in there. Energy reading, energy healing, empath empowerment, which is what I'm using for this empath merge, enlightenment coaching. And if you're really sophisticated knowing about RES, you know it's completely different from doing psychic readings. Not to complain about such a beautiful field that's gone on for so long, but RES has skills that work now for the age of awakening, and technically they're very, very different. So I'm not going to be able to do like a psychic reading in response to Yevgenia's nomination, but instead I'm going to research the same chakra databanks that I researched for the other two athletes in this series. How fascinating to have the privilege of reading the aura of Michael Phelps at the time of Olympics in 2016. When I do Skilled Empath Merge, you'll see me off and on doing my preparation process. Just so you know, it's because I have to. That's why I do it. There are definite steps to these skills, and you can learn the skill set that I use as an experienced empath. You could definitely learn to do it now. I'll get to do it for you. And I'm going to begin by researching Michael Phelps's root chakra databank for physical self-awareness. That's part of his aura. And I'll be experiencing directly what it's like to be him in that part of his aura. And I can't wait. Okay, settle down, Rose. So, the first thing I notice about what it's like to be Michael Phelps now is that there's a strong astral presence in his identity. He's not just Michael Phelps. He's a group of spirits who are participating in the life of Michael Phelps, and they are involved in his identity. So I have a name for this patterning when I find it in people. I call it extreme spiritual addiction, And there's quite a bit of it now in these transitional years in the age of awakening. And people who wind up being involved in these collaborations may not really know what's going on in terms of energetic literacy skills for being able to just read with some precision what's going on. There's a lot of confusion today about how any kind of energy is God or Jesus, and that's not true. Instead, we're living at a time that I call the Age of Awakening, and in this Age of Awakening, the veil is gone that used to separate human vibrational frequencies from astral or psychic type vibrational frequencies and beings, and the divine frequency, perfection everywhere now, which is about God, Jesus, and other beings who are ascended masters or archangels or higher vibrational angels. It's a very fascinating time to be alive, and there's actually a resource that I would recommend if you're really curious about how you can be sure that you're living and progressing most rapidly in human vibrational frequencies. Let me show that to you before I go on to research Michael Phelps further so that we can have a tone of inspiration in here. So, I really didn't start off this video to talk about any of my books and workshops, but I will mention that there is something that I call the New Strong, which is a program for easy vibrational balance. It's very natural, and it helps people to stay themselves at a time when everybody is energy sensitive. Everybody who wants to be can be energy sensitive. And it really is interesting that we can be stronger as who we are as individuals. And it really helps us have great lives, even if we don't win a single Olympic medal. Meanwhile, what can happen to people, and evidently this is something that's gone on with Michael Phelps, is that he has believed that he found Jesus, who is a divine being, but actually he has surrendered to a group of astral beings who are helping to run him. The way I feel it out, it's about 40% Michael in there, and the rest are entities. Who tends to be susceptible to this kind of problem? Well, it helps to live the New Strong because you can prevent it. But otherwise, I have found from reading a lot of people's auras, since we've moved into the Age of Awakening, especially, that when people are really famous, or they have a great deal of political power, or big political aspirations, or they just are not honest with themselves about who they are and want to give over to some shiny new idea of who they could be, that they are susceptible to this kind of problem. I consider it a problem. No doubt Michael Phelps is feeling no pain, but candor causes me to tell it like it is. So now, continuing on, having had time to get over my initial shock here, back at what it's like for him with physical self-awareness, having talked about the elephant in the room of what it's like to be Michael Phelps, that he's not really that much Michael Phelps anymore compared to before. There's a kind of detachment from being himself that he's living. This detachment is as though he's being himself from a distance, as though he's witnessing his activity. There are kinds of witnessing that happen in a certain type of enlightenment, a traditional type of enlightenment, if you're able to do Skilled Empath Merge and you understand the specifics, or you do aura reading and you can understand, because you also have skills about what enlightenment is and isn't, you could really tell the difference between the kind of witnessing he does and the kind of witnessing that sometimes people talk about in the context of enlightenment. The traditional kind of enlightenment. Not the kind of enlightenment I help people to have, which is householder enlightenment, where there is not witnessing. Anyway, over at Michael Phelps, it's as though his body is being manipulated by a walkie-talkie or some remote control device. I guess that's what the technology would be, Rose. Remote control device. And it works great. And it's like, isn't it interesting what my body can do? Really a huge detachment. And of course, he's a well-functioning machine. He's the greatest swimmer machine. And so it's just using the controls to make it work. And that's what is happening with him. All right, well, let's go on to the flow of energy while he's competing. Belly chakra databank experience. He feels at peace with himself, with flows of energy. It doesn't bother him the way that it used to, having some of the intense emotions that were driving him to compete that he would have during and after competition. Instead, there's a kind of I'm at peace quality. I'm at peace, but it's not so much a human kind of peacefulness where, well, you know what that's like. You've had those moments. I have too. Thank goodness. It's not the kind of peace that people have when they're connected to the divine. You know, like if you've had a beautiful prayer or you've read scripture or you've gone to church or whatever, and you just feel good all over through and through, and there's a kind of peace, a peace that Peace that patheth understanding. That, see, I can't even say it, but I have actually experienced that. There's that divine kind of peace, but this is an astral peace that includes what's going on with the extreme spiritual addiction and a kind of numbness to his human life that puts everything at a comfortable distance. A little bit like if someone were a pothead and not feeling pain. Only it doesn't have that strong kind of high of people smoking weed who can't maybe swim so well while under the influence. Now, let's go on over to the solar plexus chakra databank for using power while competing. For Michael Phelps, it's an experience that he would translate as I'm surrendered. Again, this would make great sense in terms of a belief system around finding Jesus, but the energetics of it are quite different. And then on over to emotional stability, heart chakra databank as an access for his experience. There's a curious emptiness in there that feels comfortable to Michael Phelps by this time, where he's not really connected very much to human experience emotionally. And, you know, if you think about the context here, he's been so famous, so revered, so successful for so long. He's had maybe 5 lifetimes worth of experience. Now it's more like he's on holiday from human and going through the motions and not knowing that he's on holiday, not knowing with his conscious mind. Over to the third eye chakra databank for reading energies while competing. This is a very big deal. He feels like he's in a flow of astral energy, which he is most of the time also, given other things that I've been reading on him this time. And it is much more vivid than his human experience, noticing the energies. then on over to the third eye chakra databank for connection to spiritual source. Well, let's find out if there's a strong experience of Jesus here, or God, or anything of the divine, because that's what this databank is about. It's about the size of a raisin and has that texture of shriveledy up, not sweet particularly, but shriveledy. At this time in Michael Phelps's life, there is not the experience of connection to the divine, but rather the astral, psychic frequencies are so lively for him that it's like, who needs that? What is that anyway? Very often when people these days are swept up in enjoyment of the astral, and now that's going on for millions of people in the much milder form and different form for consciousness lifestyle that I call spiritual addiction, something I've helped many, many people to overcome, and it's not that hard. You can even get some information about getting past that at my blog. Just type spiritual addiction into the search box there. But over with what goes on when there's such an emphasis on the astral and not the divine, which is really, really different, qualitatively, vibrationally, there's very often a sense that psychic or astral level frequencies are better than or equal to the divine. And technically that's not true, but this is undoubtedly part of what's involved in what's going on with Michael Phelps at this time, just for now, at the time of this photo. And then there's the high heart chakra databank for soul thrill, expressing his human soul. It's kind of sleepy-like, kind of like walking through a fog, as if he's got more important things to do than to be Michael Phelps. And this is not because of having found Jesus, I suspect. This is because he's gotten involved in one of these consciousness lifestyles that is happening now for some people. And while it goes on, there's a real distance from his own humanity. I wish him so well. And this has been surprising. I thought I was going to be really inspired by this one. Not so much, but I hope it's been useful to you and interesting to you. Most of what you find when you do Skilled Empath Merge or aura reading, it's so inspiring. It's so beautiful. It will ennoble you. However, there are some things going on Earth during these early years of the Age of Awakening that are not beautiful, as people learn how to handle the different vibrational realities. And this is part of my work too from time to time. So you've been shown a slice of life. And if I were going to take one practical point from this Skilled Empath Merge, it is, remember that Earth School, that's what we can call this place from a spiritual perspective, Earth School, it's a place of illusions. We have fame, we have attractiveness, we have wealth, we have influence, and sometimes they're just magnificent. What's going on inside the person? Sometimes it's not. And so for everyone, we get to grow. And when we have discernment about what is real and what are illusions, we enjoy the real things that are good all the more. Thank you for watching this. Please follow up with me if you're interested over at the swimming pool. No, I'm just kidding. But you can follow up at my website, roserosetree.com. Wishing you happiness of a very human kind, with connection to any divine being, whether it's Jesus or God or whichever one goes with your belief system, you bet you can have that. Bye for now.